Hey there and welcome back to the Full Later Life. My name is Martin and I'm here to encourage us all to live a full and active later life. Now today my video is going to be slightly different. I'm not going to be outside running, cycling or really some training plan, that's some race I'm going to or traveling or anything like that. Now today I want to talk a little bit more about how I think about carefully what I'm going to put into my body so that I can live that full and active later life. Now I want to be clear, I'm not super precious about every little thing I eat. I don't check every tiny ingredient. I don't weigh every calorie. Although I do try to eat healthy and organic when I can. I'm not like one of these longevity influencers where it seems like everything they eat is like a science experiment. And it seems like they're not really having fun eating what they're eating. They're just trying to make their life live longer. And so eating becomes like a chore to them and not really much fun. And living a full later life certainly should be fun. You should be able to enjoy every aspect of your life, including what you eat. And so that's not me really, but I also want to be careful about what I do put in my body, and I do want to be at least cognizant of making sure that I'm living mostly healthy when I can. And so one day I gave up drinking sodas, and maybe after about 5-6 weeks, I began to stop craving it so much. Sure, there's plenty of addictive things in these fizzy drinks. The sugar's quite addictive, the caffeine's addictive. I'm sure a lot of the chemicals and the substances they put in it are designed to make you come back and buy more. And so it took about 6 weeks before I really stopped craving a Coke or a fizzy drink like that. However, even after I gave it up, I still once in a while would enjoy a nice cold ginger ale. I mean, there is something really refreshing about sitting outside, with an ice cold fizzy drink in your hand and just that little sweet taste. And so I did miss that, but not in a way that I was craving it. But the thing is, even when I look at the can of ginger ale, yeah, sure, it doesn't have quite so many of the chemicals that some of the fizzy drinks have, but it still has quite a few. And so I began to think, do I really need this? And I kind of thought, well, once in a while it's probably okay. And every time I go on a plane now, I tend to order a ginger ale from the flight attendant, and I really do enjoy it. But I got thinking, is there any way I can drink ginger ale and not have all these chemicals? Now, of course, these days I could go to one of these gourmet grocery stores, maybe take out a small mortgage and then buy a bottle of probiotic organic ginger ale with ingredients sourced from the rainforests of Madagascar or somewhere like that. But you know what? Much as influencers love to go to those stores, I'm not a rich influencer. And not only that, I figure I could make my own quite simply from ingredients from a regular grocery store. And so today I'm going to show you exactly how I make my own ginger ale. And the great thing about it is I can make it as strong or as weak or as sweet as I like. It's actually a good way to make a ginger ale that is healthier for you, and also it's kind of fun to make it as well. So without further ado, let's just get on with it. So to begin with, all you need is 3 ingredients to make ginger ale, and that is sugar, water, and root ginger. Now obviously when making ginger ale, the first thing you're going to need is ginger, and I've actually got quite a bit of it. I've got like 2 little clumps of it, packs you get from a grocery store. That should be plenty to make the ginger ale that I'm going to make. And the first thing I'm going to do with it is shave off as much of the bark as I can. And the reason why I'm going to do that is the bark tends to hold the flavour in rather than let the flavour come out. And not only that, it's a slightly bitterer flavour than the actual ginger inside. I want that nice sweet ginger flavour in my ginger ale. And so I'm going to just shave off as much as I can. You see inside you've got all these little nooks and knobs and stuff like that. You probably don't necessarily need to get that precious about it, but as long as you can get most of that bark off, and I just use a regular potato peeler and I would just shave it off, maybe cut it into pieces to access a bit more of that bark and get as much of that off as I can. So I'll get on with that and then we'll come right back here. I'm just cutting off most of the bark here. It really is just to release that flavour and also to just take away any bitterness that the bark may have. So as you can see, there's little bits of bark still left in these little notches here. It's really not worth getting into the little corners. It's not going to change the effect of your ginger. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, this bark stuff can all just be thrown away. I'm actually just going to put it in my composter so that I can make some nice compost for my garden rather than just throw it out. And then we'll get on to the next stage. So now that the ginger is all nicely peeled here, what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to get my knife here and just chop them up a little bit smaller into smaller pieces. So I don't want to cut these up too tiny. All I want to do is just give them enough extra surface area so that more of that flavour can get out into the mixture that I'm going to create. Now what I like to do with these is I like to get myself a small strainer kind of container like this with lots of holes. You don't need to do this, but it's just going to make things a little bit easier when you get later on to drain your syrup. I'd like to just dump all these inside this container here. And that way then I could just pull this thing out of the pan later on and all these pieces will be in there. It saves me having to do a big drain and filter or that kind of thing. That's why I love using this kind of thing for that. Oh, so the next job, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get a big pot, and I actually love this stove pot, and the reason why I like it is that it's heavy. The lid is really heavy, so it seals on there pretty good, and it's also got to design the lid to condense all the water, so you're not going to get that much evaporation. And so I'm going to just pop this onto the ring of the hob here, and then I will get my ginger cubes and just put this whole thing inside the pot there. See, that way then when I finish it, I could just bring these out once the flavors all out and just toss them away in the compost without having to like fish them all out or straining. I'm going to add myself a bunch of water into this too, so just pour this on really good. Fill up this with plenty of water, and I might even just get another half of one of these too. Right, next you're going to need your sugar, and I actually use raw organic cane sugar because I know that this sugar is actually natural. It hasn't been bleached or got any other chemical components to it. It's just a natural raw cane sugar, and you can eat quite a lot of this stuff because you're going to make this thing as sweet and strong as you can. So I've got this giant big spoon here, and I'm just going to just spoon in maybe about 5 or 6 spoons of this sugar right here. Basically what you're making is a simple syrup with ginger in it, is really what you're really doing here. And so I'm just going to keep putting a bit more of this sugar in here until it gets really sweet. Now it really doesn't matter that it's a lot of sugar, because in the end of the day this is going to make quite a lot of ginger ale, because you're making like a really thick syrup out of this. You're not making it into one ginger ale. You're going to make a thick syrup that you can use, and you can then adjust the strength when you finally make your real ginger ale that you're going to drink. You can adjust the amounts of quantities of the syrup that you're going to use to make your ginger ale with. Although too much sugar is really bad for you, you're just not going to be drinking in that much sugar in the grand scheme of things. Okay, I like to then move this to the back burner because it's a smaller ring right there, and I'm going to bring this to the boil. So we're going to throw the lid on here real quick, and then we just turn on the ring and start that boiling away. All right, so now the lid's on, the heat's on, and we're just going to bring this up to the boil, and we're going to let it come up to the boil, and when it starts to bubble, we're going to turn it down and let it simmer for a good hour, just to get all the flavor from that ginger out into that syrupy water. And that's what's going to be the basis for homemade ginger ale. All right, this sounds like it's boiling now. I'm going to have a quick look in there and see what's going on in there, but it looks like it's boiling away. Oh yeah, that's boiling quite nicely. All right, just turn that down right there. Okay, so we're going to just let that just simmer and boil for about an hour on a low temperature. It should have a very strong, sweet ginger flavor by the time it's done. So anyway, without further ado, let's just leave that to do its thing. We can just go off and do something else while we're waiting. All right, guys, that's been simmering now for about, well, 2 episodes of Star Trek DS9 actually, because that's what I was doing while I was letting this thing simmer. And right now it should be about ready to make my ginger ale with. Let me have a quick taste of it. I've got a feeling this is gonna make me feel a little bit gross. Oh man, that's strong. It tastes really strong. It tastes very gingery and very sugary, but that's okay because I'm not going to make a ginger ale just with this alone. Okay, it's actually just part of the base syrup to make a ginger ale with. Anyway, right now I've just got to turn the temperature off and let it, because there's no more flavor I can get out of this. So I'm going to turn this off right now, and then I've got to let it cool down before I can do anything else with it. So heck, I've got time. I might as well go out for a run. Guys, I'm back from my run, and you know what, the great thing about running is that you can just, when you've got a spare half an hour or 45 minutes or whenever, you could just nip out, do a quick run, and you can feel good about yourself. But anyway, back to the ginger ale. As you can see, this is now cooled down quite nicely. I can put my finger in there, dip it in there, it doesn't burn at all anymore. And inside here, all the flavour has come out of it. And the great thing about using this strainer here is that I could just pop all this out and just dump this in the composter, and I'm left with the beautiful liquid which is going to make up the syrup for my ginger ale. So we'll take it over to the other side of the counter there, and we'll get that bottled up, and then we'll make some actual ginger ale with it. Alright, we'll just set that down there. Okay, now what we've got in here now is the syrup that we made with the ginger and the sugar and the water. And then what we're doing, I'm going to bottle this up, and I've got these sealable bottles that I just bought from Amazon at some point, and these are great. I could just fill this up with the syrup and then store it in the fridge, and I could just use it as my syrup. So now this pot is pretty darn heavy, so I'm not going to start pouring it in. I'm going to grab myself a funnel and I'm going to pop that inside, and I'm going to get a ladle too, and I'm just going to ladle this syrup into the bottles just so that I don't lose it and that I don't waste it. And as you can see, this liquid is nice and clear. All right, so let's just pour that in there, and as you can see, we can just fill this bottle up. Yeah, we've got quite a lot of syrup here, so we're going to fill up a couple of these bottles for sure. Okay, that's one. I think I'm going to find some more bottles. I think I've got more than enough for at least 3 of these, I think. Well, for sure I'm going to find at least a couple more of these bottles because I've got more than enough for what I have here. But as you can see, this is kind of what it's going to be like. I'm going to put these in the fridge, and then once I finish filling these up, I'll show you how I make the actual ginger ale. So basically 2 of those packs of ginger, and then maybe 6 to 8 big spoons of sugar, made enough for 2 bottles and this container of syrup right there, which I'm going to just keep in the fridge and use that to make my ginger ale with. And now the final stage is to make the ginger ale so that you can drink it, and it's really simple. All you need is syrup, you need some soda water of some kind, a glass and some ice. And you know what, if you don't have a soda stream like I have, you can always go to a grocery store and buy club soda. It works just fine. As I have a soda stream, I can make my own, so that's without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and make that. First thing I'm going to do is just get my syrup, and I've got this one here that I ran out of bottles, so you've got this container thing, and because it's kind of awkward, I think I'm going to just ladle that in. But if you've got a nice bottle, you can pour it in, and you don't need an awful lot of syrup really. You can actually adjust it to taste, and this is probably about as much as I like to fill my glass up to, just about an inch of soda water in a pint-sized glass here. And then all I'm going to do is then get my my chilled water, and I'm going to just knock that into the soda stream and make this nice and fizzy so that I can got a nice bottle of soda water here, and I'm just gonna top that off in here, maybe fill it up to about there, and then get myself an ice cube. And as you can see, the color is just that little slightly straw color there. And let me just have a quick taste of that now. Oh, that is perfect. That is absolutely perfect. If you like your ginger ale a little bit sweeter, you can always add a little more syrup. If you want it like more like one of those flavored seltzers, like a LaCroix or a Spindrift, you could use a little less. For me, this is just the perfect amount. It's the perfect amount of sweetness and gingery. Oh yeah, oh yeah. That is a really good ginger ale. And the good thing about this ginger ale is I know it's got no harsh chemicals in it. It is just simply water, ginger and sugar. And the sugar I use, as I said before, is raw cane sugar. So it's all natural with no processes to bleach it or anything like that. And so I've now got a perfectly healthy, or at least a healthier soda that I can really sit down and enjoy. Cheers. Oh, that's good. That's perfect. Alright guys, well I've got an additional treat for you today, because this syrup that you've made, not only can you make ginger ale with it, you can, if you want to, use it as a flavour or an adjunct for an adult beverage. And when I was in Japan, I discovered whiskey highballs, and these are really simple to make. So I'm going to make a quick one of these right now before we finish. And all I'm going to need for this is my ginger syrup, and I'm going to just drop a little piece of that, get a little ladle, and I'm going to drop maybe a little bit less than I'd use for ginger ale, just a little drop of that. I'm going to drop that right in there, okay? Just perfect. And then I just set this down right there. The next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to drop an ice cube in it, and that would just help chill that drink. And then with my just an average, any bourbon or whiskey will do the trick. Obviously I'm not going to use my best scotch for it. I'm going to use something that's very good for making a mixed drink. I'm just going to get one little shot of whiskey, bourbon right there, drop that in there. And then finally I'm going to top it off with the soda water. And again, if you don't have a soda stream, you can always get club soda, and it works just fine. And just fill that up to the top there like so. And what you've got right now, once it's, be very careful with it, because it's gonna fizz a lot. There you go, it's now full. And this is actually a very refreshing way to drink a whiskey. And there you have it, guys, a very refreshing whiskey highball. And of course you could adjust the content of the whiskey and the ginger to get it to exact taste that you like. But I'd love to know in the comments what you guys do to enhance your active and full later life. Please put in the comments and share those, because I'm sure we'd all love to hear from one another. And if you enjoyed this content, then please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.